People really love making rules for their kids, and even stepkids, apparently. Did you ever get forced into activities like sports or church events that you didn't actually want to be at as a kid? Let's talk about it. G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now, if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on that barbie, and enjoy today's bloody good stories. Let's go. Am I the asshole for telling my kid's stepmother she doesn't get to make the rules for my home in front of my former in-laws? So I share two sons, 11 male and 7 male, with my ex. He left me for his wife 3 years ago, and they got married right after the divorce. I mention this because there are some tensions present due to this, and also due to the fact my former in-laws and I got along so well and have not been welcoming towards ex's new wife. So anyway, X and his wife put the boys in football and a church thing on their time. X actually signed them up for all the time, but neither boy likes those activities. X says in his house they must do them. I say fine, but they won't do them with me. X's wife is the one with the biggest issues with my decision. She is very religious and believes boys should play sports and attend church. About a week ago, my oldest was picking up a certificate from one of his chosen extracurriculars, and me, X, and his wife were there, while X's parents and sister were outside waiting to celebrate. X's wife starts telling the boys they need to do the church thing that Saturday afternoon, whether they like it or not, which was my parenting time, not my ex's, and that they need to sign up for some other stuff at football, which also fell on my parenting time. When we go outside, without the boys, they were with X, I told her she did not get to make rules or demands in my home, and she better not do that again the way she did. X's family backs me up and says she's not their parent, etc. She gets super pissed at me for doing that around them, and when X finds out, he tells me I'm an asshole and should have waited and discussed it after. I told him I only care about the boys not hearing, and that he needs to nip that crap in the bud if he doesn't want stuff like that to happen again. She told me I made it even harder for their family to get along now, and I should be ashamed. Am I the asshole? No. She has to understand, and I think she does understand. She can only be making decisions for the boys when it's on their time, and here she is trying to ramrod her own decisions on your time, and that's an absolute no. There's no wonder that her family are attacking her, and she's getting attacked by OP. She doesn't get to have her cake and eat it too, and especially force the boys to do things they don't want to, all the time, against their will, it would seem. That's a big no, and OP, thank you for getting in the way of this, not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Arwen Stardust says, not the a-hole. It's your home, and something the kids don't even want to do. Like, I could understand if she was trying to get you to take them to a doctor's appointment or something, but just to some BS that only she gives a crap about? Nah, she can stuff it. Plus, she did it in front of the in-laws, so it should be dealt with in the same manner. She needs to butt the hell out of parenting those kids. She's not a parent and has zero rights in this matter. The ex is also an a-hole, and a big one at that. He lets a not-mother take control of his children, and both he and the wife ignore what the boys wanted. If his wife gets their respects, then sure, she would have some rights to help parent the boys. I would be laughing if the boys decide to stay with mum permanently once they're old enough, and that's what I'd do if I were one of them. The dad would probably be like, I don't understand how this could happen. What did I ever do to my sons, etc. Now, to OP, perhaps you could document everything. If your boys want to live with you permanently, then I think you should keep some evidence to support them. If it gets to the point that your sons are mentally abused, they may get to live with you permanently much sooner. And I think the kids should be able to say no to the activities forced upon them. I'm not sure how you would go about it to teach them to say no. Like, what can the ex do if they refuse to do those activities? And edit to add, the ex's wife has got some nerves to want to instill in the kids the religion she herself didn't really follow. Otherwise, she would have known not to participate in adultery. And I don't think your sons want to listen to the woman who broke their family. So the quote, "She told me I made it even harder for their family to get along now," is just her empty dream. Without your help, I'm sure your sons wouldn't want to get along with her anyway. But your help could encourage them to have a heart-to-heart talk with their dad. Maybe this would knock some sense into him before it's too late. It sounds like a classic situation of dad doesn't really want to dad and doesn't like mom, so finds a new mom to do the parenting for everyone. Then everyone gets upset because she's not the parent. It definitely doesn't. It sounds much more like the dad was cheating on mum and left mum for other women. Yes, and the cheating woman is now pretending to be a saintly, God-fearing woman. Total hypocrisy. Asian in Germany says, not the a-hole. They obviously don't have any boundaries if they were okay with cheating and starting a marriage over your misery. It's not surprising that she feels entitled to overstep your parenting as well. I'm just wondering what kind of religious person is okay with stealing another woman's husband, though. And OP replies, the kind who believes she saved him from the big bad atheist who was only going to damn him when he dies. And I know this because she has tried to interfere when X asked me to get the boys baptized, and I said no. Because I don't consent to that crap. And I'm a dog mum says, not the a-hole. I'm a former divorce lawyer, and my first tenet is, do not screw up the kids. You and your ex and his wife should sit down with a mediator if you could stomach it. My concern is that the kids are going to be forced into those activities against their will every other week. I doubt a sports coach will want every other week participation though. Church is different. It's dad's prerogative to drag the kids along when it's his time with them. As long as it's not harmful to the kids, I can see a judge allowing it, but dad has no idea the long-term wedge he can create by forcing the kids to participate in activities they don't want. Even seemingly healthy ones. There are things you can probably work out here, as long as everyone is willing to be the best parent they can be with the kids' best interests in mind, given the entirety of the circumstances. Also, an aside, stepmom will probably back off a lot when she has her own kids to rule over. I was just thinking that. She's just practicing her mother skills with some pre-made kids, but she won't care a fig about OP's kids once her own are on the scene. And dad will probably turn his back on them too because now he has the perfect family. I'd start saving for the therapy for that moment now. Might as well try for full custody. Not the a-hole. Our next post is by user KFC2507, titled, Am I the a-hole for walking out after I opened the gift my stepson bought me for Father's Day? So I, male 37, have two stepkids. Girl 11 and boy 16. My stepdaughter is the apple of my eye. I love her to pieces, but my stepson has a difficult personality. He never does anything with us. He never let me help him with anything and keeps his distance from me. He also never tells me about his problems or achievements, and it's been difficult trying to establish a good bond with him like my stepdaughter. My wife says that's his nature, so I should stop pressuring him, and that was until he recently started spending time with me, but every time he'd pull a nasty prank. Like replace my shampoo, or ruin my credit card, or ruin my tires and rear lights. This caused a rift between us, especially since my wife says those are pranks. But I was worried for my safety and got paranoid from getting in the car or going to the supermarket with a ruined credit card, so I kept my distance. On Father's Day, I took my wife and stepson and daughter to her parents' house for breakfast. I received a beautiful gift from my stepdaughter and didn't expect my stepson to get me anything as always. But he did bring me a gift. It looked like a nice gift in a box and was beautifully wrapped and introduced. I was so excited and happy because all I was thinking of was not the gift itself, but the fact my stepson is finally letting me be a part of his life and remembering me on Father's Day. So it meant the world to me. That was already my gift, but I couldn't wait to open it and show him my appreciation and gratitude. Well, I opened the box and saw a stinky old sock of mine that I'd lost a couple months ago placed inside. The look on my face said it all. My stepson then encouraged me to show everybody what he'd got me. I didn't want to, but my father-in-law took the box and pulled out the sock. He looked confused, and my stepson started laughing hysterically, and so did the others. It was an absolute horrible moment, and I wished I could just jump out of the window and run away from embarrassment. I just got up and walked out of the room silently, while my stepson was laughing from behind. My wife came in to tell me that I overreacted massively and my stepson was just messing with me, meaning it was just a prank. But he embarrassed me in front of the entire family, and frankly, I don't give a crap about a gift, but what he did felt so humiliating that I almost cried. She yet again said that I shouldn't have walked out like that, and that I made it awkward since I'm the adult and I should have handled this better. I left my in-laws' house and my wife and kids are still there. My wife is upset that I left and wanted to get some time alone and a good cry and remember my dad and try to keep my mind off what happened earlier. Am I the asshole for this? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I might be the asshole for walking out and making an awkward moment more awkward when I could have simply laughed at his prank. Not the a-hole. At first I was thinking he was being 16, but the more I read, I'm horrified. And your wife is enabling this by taking his side constantly and allowing it to go unpunished. The kid needs therapy. These are not pranks, and you shouldn't have to put up with this. Your wife needs to change the way she handled him, or I would be out that door. Not the a-hole. What prank involves damaging CC and cars? She needs a reality check. Seriously, OP, your stepson is either a sociopath or a major asshole. Your wife is an enabler, and honestly, I don't think I'd put up with this poor treatment, stepson or not. I think it's harmful to diagnose people over the internet, especially with stuff as misunderstood as cluster B disorders. The kid's an ass regardless though. Not the asshole, and I'm sorry your wife is enabling her child to be disrespectful, mean, and a little crap. Your wife is so the asshole here. The stepson does what he is allowed to do. You need to address this with your wife, like now, and she needs to rein in her little devil. It's not cute, and it's not pranks. Unless you and your wife are on the same page, things will only get worse. Perhaps it's time to walk away. Your wife doesn't respect you at all. Not the asshole. You left a situation that was meant to embarrass you. Your stepson is a jerk. Messing with credit cards and your car aren't pranks. It's malicious vandalism, and the fact his mum doesn't do anything to him is ridiculous. If he did that stuff to anyone outside the family, he'd get reamed out, if not charged with a crime for the stuff with a car. Take your time and have a sit down with your wife, and tell her you aren't overreacting. She's enabling her son to be a jerk. I hope OP's wife and stepson are not expecting him to pay towards stepson's college costs, and if OP gets pressured to do this, he should walk. Our next post is by user Shimria, titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to let my ex have Father's Day with our kids so her husband can celebrate with them? Ex and I divorced 11 years ago. We have 2 teens aged 14 and 13. Kids live primarily with me because when she left, it was to be with her current husband who lived in another town. I remained primary custodian because I wasn't the moving parent. She was, which was causing the upheaval. Anyway, they see the kids every other weekend, extended periods during summer, and for every other holiday. Ex and her husband have 3 kids together. Ex has always asked that we alternate Father's Day since the kids have known him most of their lives, and because they have siblings through him, and it's important to celebrate the day as a family sometimes. I always said no because they are my kids, and I want to see them on Father's Day. This year seems to be the year pissing them off the most, because the kids are choosing to not spend extended periods of the summer with them, and she thinks it's more important than ever for them to have that family time, for those memories to be made with their family. She and her husband have been texting me all morning with their annoyance at my decision, and I even had her family on my case about it. It's weighed me down enough, and I've been called an asshole enough that I have to ask, am I the asshole? And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I am open to hearing that I'm the asshole because my kids already don't see them a lot, and sacrificing this day so they can spend it with their other family and to make memories with their siblings wouldn't kill me. I could also be the asshole because he has been a part of their lives for so long, and I'm not willing to share with him. Now in the comments, Always Sunny says, You're their father, and your ex thinks you are somehow the asshole for wanting to spend Father's Day with your own children? 100% not the asshole. Yeah, because her husband has been a good father figure in their lives, and he's the father of their siblings. I don't fully believe it, but the doubt is there because this has been a constant in my ear for about 2 months now. Sounds like she's putting her husband before her kids. Rude. She already did that when she abandoned them for him 11 years ago. Ouch. True. Not the a-hole? Hell, most paperwork nowadays already have it pre-printed that the kids will spend Father's Day with their father and Mother's Day with their mother. Remind them that Father's Day is not a family holiday. It's about celebrating their father, and since he's not their father, they won't be spending it with them. If this pisses her off, so be it. Her pissiness is not your problem. Came here to say exactly this. It's a standard for obvious reasons. OP, Father's Day is your holiday, Mother's Day is hers. Full stop, not the a-hole. Our next post is by user BothSweet8077, titled, Am I the asshole for snapping at my in-laws when they tried to influence us to force our adopted son to meet his birth mother? So my husband and I adopted his nephew Kai when he was 6 years old. He had a rough start. His birth mother was never involved, and my husband's brother was a single parent for 5 years of Kai's life. Then my husband's brother met a woman. They were together for a while and got engaged. All while, Kai never met her. Kai met her and found out they were expecting a baby the day of the wedding. He knew his dad had someone, but no introduction had taken place. What followed was Kai was placed second to the new baby girl, and eventually he came to live with us, and a few months after his 6th birthday. In the space of a year, he had his whole world turned upside down, and it left a major mark on him. It has been hard to get him into a more secure place. He suffers with many self-esteem issues and has been in therapy since we became his legal guardians. His self-esteem took a hit when we got pregnant with our second child. First bio, but counting kids, we count Kai as our first. And it took a lot for him to be okay. But he adores her, and they have a great relationship. Then it happened again with our third child. First he was afraid we would dump our daughter for the new baby. Then he was afraid that she would love baby brother more than him. Thankfully, he was able to get through it all with love and therapy. There was another hit to him when one of his so-called friends bullied him. It really messed with him, and it showed that things can cause setbacks. He had been bullied before, and it didn't bother him because the kid was just some kid, but a friend doing it hurt. Anyway, I say all this because he can still struggle, and some things cause setbacks. Maybe certain things always will, or maybe he needs more time. His old therapist always said he always made progress, even when he had a setback. He was never as bad as the last time. And we really should listen to him and trust our guts. But she retired, and now we have a new therapist. This therapist told us, upon learning his birth mother had reached out and wanted to see him, that we should discard what he wants. He doesn't want to meet her, and force him because it would be healing for him. We worry about a setback, and a more major one too, being she's his birth mother. My husband's parents learned some of this from talking to Kai, and then they started pushing us to make him meet her. They say he deserves to know her, that it would be good for him to have that experience. We told them no. My husband said they needed to drop it because it was not their decision, but they persisted, and Friday, they came to me while I was alone and called me selfish and said I was jealous. And I snapped. I told them how dare they say it when they aren't the ones who deal with every setback, who have to deal with the nightmares, the sleepless nights, the endless worrying about how to manage when he's in a bad place. I basically let it all out in a tidal wave of emotion, and they're pissed and said I was an ass for ranting at them. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I might be the asshole for unleashing all of that on my in-laws. Part of me feels like they were just trying to help, but the other part tells me that it's unfair because they can't understand when they don't live with us, and they haven't needed to be there for Kai the way my husband and I have. And that's fair enough. Screw them, screw your therapist, go get a new one and continue to follow the advice of a new therapist that will tell you the right things. It's obvious through the actions of these in-laws that they're up to no good, and they will only continue to do damage to this kid who is apparently and very obviously messed up by what these people have done to them. You have every right to be angry about this. You have every right to question this. And thank you for coming to people that can tell you, at least, it is biased, but it's for the better of your family, I would hope. No one besides you seems to have Kai's best interests at heart in this situation, and that's very apparent. I'm going with not the a-hole. It was good that you snapped at your in-laws for trying to get him to meet his birth mother again. That's not on. That is a very bad idea. Now in the comments, Killian Ellis says, not the a-hole. And get a new therapist. Your current one sounds like she does not have Kai's best interests at heart. Came here to say just that. Also not the a-hole. Facts, dog, that was a radical summation. Honestly, what the therapist thinks he or she is probably encouraging for Kai is exposure therapy. But exposure therapy is only good in certain circumstances. This not being one of them. Exposure therapy with trauma is a very difficult tactic to balance between re-traumatizing and healing. The therapist doesn't know Kai long enough to have the repertoire with him to encourage something so drastic around something so traumatic, or that could open up or make wounds last, and more hurtful wounds. As someone whose mother wasn't present from a young age, my mother reaching out later created a whole crap show of emotions for me. That's not including that my father actually stayed and didn't toss me aside for another child, so I can't imagine what Kai is going through. However, do you know what my therapist said when I told them about my mum reaching out? They said, if you are not ready, you don't have to rush to talk to her. You don't owe her a friendship with you, and it's up to you if you want to forgive her for abandoning you. It's up to you, and if you are not ready or don't even want to, then you don't have to. That is your decision, and your decision alone, and I will respect and help you with that decision. Obviously, there was a lot more in-depth stuff in between specific to my case, but that sums it up. And it's not even encouraging stepping outside one's comfort zone, like what exposure therapy does. But they literally told OP to discard Kai's feelings. What the hell? OP, you do not want someone who disregards your son's feelings openly to you, talking to them about serious personal and traumatic crap behind closed doors. They could invalidate his feelings and make his self-esteem 100 times worse. Therapists are supposed to be supportive and unbiased, and the professional, so them invalidating him repeatedly in session would extremely hurt him and future attempts at therapy. For Kai to meet his mother, he first has to be willing and open to doing so. Otherwise, he would be extremely uncomfortable and could have a panic attack. There is also something you would need to plan ahead for that could cause a major setback. Kai meeting his mother, either being abandoned in the first meeting, or worse, developing a bond with her and then her abandoning him all over again. This right here is a major risk for his mental health, especially since his father, who he actively had a bond with, abandoned him. If he doesn't want to right now, do not force him, and watch out for in-laws trying to sneak in a meeting between the two of them when you or your partner aren't around. So get a new therapist and monitor the in-laws, since they probably know his bio mum and could reach out to her on your half. Also, keep an open dialogue with Kai, telling him to tell you if his grandparents do anything that he isn't comfortable with, like introducing him to someone he isn't comfortable with, without directly stating about his mum, and that you also won't force him to meet her. So in case they do pull that sneaky crap, he knows to come talk to you and that you weren't a part of it. Good luck, OP. And here for the laughs 1234 says, not the a-hole. And you might want to consider a new therapist if possible. For someone with as much upheaval as Kai has had, disregarding his choices and forcing him to be around people he doesn't want to be around would most likely cause another setback. It would also teach him that his wants and needs don't matter, and he has no control over his life. Your in-laws can shove it too. They keep pushing you, so they got what they got. And OP replies, it's on our to-do list. She was assigned, and because of the pandemic, we have been behind on a lot of stuff. That's totally understandable. Not all therapists work for everyone, and it can be a process finding the right one. You know Kai best, and you clearly love him and want what's best for him.